The padlock on the water main valve was shiny, brand new, a Master Lock number 3. I recognized the model because I used to buy them by the crate when I ran my plumbing business. But seeing it clamped on to the riser of Mrs. Higgins' water line in 112-degree Arizona heat made my blood run cold. She was 72, stage 4 lymphoma, and the HOA had just cut off her life support over $47. I took a photo with a lock. Then I took a photo with a notice taped to it. $47 outstanding. Service suspended. I checked the timestamp on my phone. 2:15 p.m. on a Friday. They had done this right before the office closed for the weekend. That wasn't an accident. That was a tactic. I walked back to my truck, grabbed my bolt cutters, and weighed them in my hand. I wanted to cut it. God, I wanted to cut it. But I knew Patricia, the board president. If I cut that lock, she'd have me arrested for destruction of property before the water hit the pipes. I needed to destroy her legally first. I've lived in Sun Valley Mesa for 10 years. It's a 55-plus community south of Phoenix. Stucco houses, xeriscaped yards, and heat that hits you like a physical blow the second you step outside. I'm Mike, retired master plumber, commercial certified. I moved here to relax, maybe play some golf. Instead, I mostly fix my neighbors' leaky faucets because I can't stand seeing them get ripped off by the big chain companies. Mrs. Higgins, Clara, lived next door. She was the kind of neighbor who baked cookies even when she could barely stand up from the chemo nausea. That afternoon, she'd called me in a panic. Her voice was thin, raspy. "Mike," she said, "the top is dry. I went to get a glass of water for my pill, and nothing." I initially thought it was a city main break, but when I checked my own tap, the pressure was fine. That's when I went out to her meter box and found the padlock. I walked back into her kitchen. It was 80 degrees inside, even with the AC running. She was sitting at the table, trembling slightly. "Is it a pipe burst?" she asked. "No, Clara, it's the HOA. I showed her the picture of the notice. Her hand went to her mouth. "The $47? I thought I paid that with the quarterly dues." "It says late fee assessment. Did you get a letter?" "I don't know," she whispered. "The mail has been hard to keep up with lately, with the treatments." She looked terrified. Not angry, terrified. Dehydration for someone on her medication wasn't just uncomfortable, it was lethal. I poured her a glass of water from a pitcher I'd brought from my place. "Drink this," I said. "I'm going to pay Patricia a visit." "Mike, don't cause trouble. I'll write a check." "The office closes at 3. It's 2:30. I'll get it sorted." I didn't tell her that Patricia had likely already left, specifically to avoid this conversation. Patricia's house was 4 blocks away. The White House, the neighbors called in. Pristine white stucco, white roses, white SUV in the driveway. Patricia was the type of HOA president who measured grass height with a ruler and fined you if your trash can was visible from the street at 6:01 p.m. I rang the doorbell. She answered in activewear, holding a smoothie. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Mike, to what do I owe the pleasure?" "You locked out Clara Higgins' water." She took a sip of her smoothie. "We suspended service for non-payment. It's standard procedure." "It's 112 degrees, Patricia. She has cancer. She needs water to take her meds." "Then she should have paid the $47 late fee. We sent 3 notices." I pulled out my wallet, grabbed a 50. "Here's the money. Go unlock it." She didn't take it. She just looked at the bill with disdain. "We don't accept cash, checks, or money orders only. Dropped at the management office." "The office that closes in 20 minutes? If you hurry, you might make it." "And if I don't?" "Then the management company will process it Monday morning. The maintenance crew can probably get out there Tuesday." Tuesday. 4 days without water. In July. "Patricia, this is a medical emergency. You can override this." "The bylaws are clear, Mike. Equal enforcement. If I make an exception for her, I have to make it for everyone." She started to close the door.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have Pilates."
The door clicked shut. I stood there on a porch. The heat radiating off the concrete was intense. I looked at the $50 bill in my hand. I could go cut the lock, pay the fine later. But then I remembered something. A job I did back in '08 for the city of Phoenix. A dispute over a commercial shutoff. I walked back to my truck. I didn't go to the management office. I went to the city water services department. I still had a few contacts, but I didn't need favors. I needed the code. I sat in the lobby, scrolling through the revised statutes on my phone. I found the HOA bylaws online. Section 8.4. Association reserves the right to suspend utilities for non-payment. Then I found Arizona Revised Statute 40-491. And then I found the City Municipal Code regarding tampering with public utilities. I felt a smile start to form. It wasn't a nice smile. The clerk called my number. "Can I help you?" "I need to report a code violation and a potential felony." The clerk blinked. "A felony?" "Someone placed a private locking device on a city-owned curb stop valve, impeding emergency access." She straightened up. "Address? 1402 Desert Willow Lane. But you're going to want to send a supervisor and maybe the police." I drove back to Claris. It was 4:35 p.m. I hooked up a garden hose from my outdoor spigot, ran it across the lawn, and connected it to her hose bib. It wasn't code compliant, but it got water into her house. Backflow prevention be damned. I wasn't letting her die thirst. I went inside. "You have water, Clara, but keep the blinds closed." "Did you pay Patricia?" "Better. I called the cavalry." At 4:30 p.m., the city water truck pulled up. Not a regular maintenance truck, a supervisor's truck. A guy named Henderson got out. Big guy, reflective vest, clipboard. I walked out to meet him. "You the one who called about the lock?" "That's me, Mike usually. Master license 4482. Henderson nodded. "I know you. You did the piping on the Stadium Reno." He walked over to the meter box, looked at the shiny master lock. "HOA?" he asked. "HOA. Did they apply for a shutoff permit?" "Nope, just slapped a padlock on it." Henderson sighed. He pulled out a pair of industrial bolt cutters. "You know, the city owns everything up to the meter. The HOA owns the dirt, maybe, but they don't own this valve." He snapped the lock like it was a twig. He turned the valve. I heard the water rush into the line. "Leave the lock there," I said. "Evidence." Henderson looked at me. "You planning a party?" "Just waiting for the guest of honor." I had texted Patricia. "City is at Claris, removing the lock. You might want to come explain yourself." She arrived 5 minutes later. The white ESUV tires squealed a little. She marched across the lawn, phone in hand, recording. "Excuse me," she yelled. "What do you think you're doing? That is association property." Henderson looked up from his clipboard. He didn't look impressed. "Ma'am, step back." "I am the board president. That resident is delinquent. We authorized that shutoff." "You authorized a lock on a municipal valve?" Henderson asked. His voice was calm, dangerously calm. "We have the right under our bylaws." "Your bylaws don't supersede state law, ma'am, or city ordinance." Henderson handed her a pink slip of paper. "What is this?" "Citation for tampering with public utility infrastructure. $500 fine per occurrence." Patricia scoffed. $500? The association will appeal." "That's just the city fine," Henderson said. "The police are on their way to discuss the endangerment charges." Patricia froze. "Police?" "ARS 40-491, I said. I was leaning against my truck, enjoying the shade. "Prohibits termination of utility service to residents with serious medical conditions. Clara has a medical certificate on file with the city. I made sure of it." She never submitted it to the board," Patricia stammered. The color was draining from her face. "She didn't have to," I said, "because you aren't the water company, Patricia. You're just a neighbor with a God complex." A squad car turned the corner. Silent approach, but the lights were flashing. 2 officers stepped out. Henderson waved him over. "Officer, this is the individual who admitted to placing the lock." Patricia switched modes instantly. "The victim. Officers, this is a misunderstanding. We have a contract." The older officer held up a hand. "Ma'am, did you knowingly cut off water to a residence in extreme heat? It was a specialized administrative action regarding fees. Yes or no, ma'am?" "Yes, but—" "And are you aware the resident is a 72-year-old cancer patient?" Patricia looked at me, then at the house. I didn't know her specific diagnosis." "Ignorance isn't a defense for reckless endangerment," the officer said. "We're going to need your ID." I watched from the driveway. They didn't arrest her, not right then. It's rare to get cuffs on a white-collar dispute immediately. But they trespassed her from Clara's property and issued a summons. Henderson finished his report. He handed me a copy. "Make sure she keeps this," he said. "She will." Patricia got back in her SUV. She sat there for a long time before starting the engine. She didn't look at me as she drove away. The fallout was fast. I posted the photo of the lock, the citation, and the police report on the neighborhood next door page that night. Title: HOA President Risking Lives Over $47. By morning, it had 400 comments. By noon Saturday, the local news van was parked in front of the White House. Patricia refused to comment, but the other board members did. They held an emergency Zoom meeting Sunday night. They voted 4-0 to remove Patricia as president effective immediately. They claimed they had no knowledge of the shutoff policy being used this way. Cowards. They knew. They just didn't expect to get caught. Monday morning, I went to the management office. I walked in with a check for $47. The manager, a nervous guy named Steve, looked at me. "For Mrs. Higgins." Mr. Miller, the board actually voted to waive the fees and the fines." "Good." "And, we received a notice from the city attorney." "Oh?" "They're auditing all our shutoffs for the last 5 years. We might lose our ability to manage on-site utilities entirely." "Sounds like you have a busy week, Steve." I walked back to Clara's house. She was sitting on her porch. She looked better, color back in her cheeks. "Mike," she said, "I saw the news truck." "Yeah, they're gone now." "Patricia resigned?" "Retired, early." She reached out and squeezed my hand. Her grip was weak, but her skin was cool, hydrated. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me. Thank the master plumber who taught me that cities don't like people touching their valves." I looked at her meter box. The new lock was gone. The valve was open. The heat was still brutal, 114 degrees today. But inside Clara's house, the water was running cold and clear. And sometimes that's all the victory you need. But I did keep the cut lock. It's sitting on my workbench, a reminder. Patricia still lives down the street. Her grass is getting a little long. I think she's afraid to go outside. I waved at her yesterday. She didn't wave back.